So I have Robin Mack with me from Tourism Australia, and we're going to talk about all things Australia in the meetings and events sphere. Robin, great for you to pop by here, and
Thanks for having me.
good to catch up. The last time we met, I think, was in September for the Australia Next Super Experience in Cairns.
Yes.
Allowed me to extend into Sydney, so it was really wonderful. Let's start with that program. How's it going, and what's?
It was great. It was only the second Australia Next that we've held, so it was great to have you there. And it was a great program that we worked with Tourism Tropical North Queensland on the program for it. That show is all about getting incentive buyers connected with our industry on the ground. And so far, we've had about 165 leads that have come from it, worth a potential 150 million to us in the visitor economy. And that's what it's all about. It's really showcasing, bringing to life Australia, showing a different side to Australia, even if you've been before. We always like to surprise and delight with the program, and it continues to yield really great results. And in fact, satisfaction-wise, was 100% that we got from attendees. So it makes the benchmark of where to go for next year a little bit tricky.
Melbourne?
It's Melbourne, yeah. So we're gearing up for December for Australia Next in Melbourne. And yeah, it's going to be.
Are you looking beyond that? Because it used to be every couple of years, and now the last three, obviously recovering from COVID, you've brought it forward.
Coming out of the pandemic, we decided to supercharge everything we did really around business events and our distribution platforms. And that one, we decided to do an additional one. So we ran them for the last 3 years, or this one coming in December will be the third. Then we're going to go back to every 2 years, the cadence. And yeah, we're not going to reveal where we are for 27 and 29 just yet, but it's in the works.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Great to hear. So you touched on some of the excellent data numbers from that. What about in general for Tourism Australia outside of that program?
Yeah, really positive. We're back in terms of spend of where we were pre-COVID now, which is about 4.3 billion in terms of what the contribution that the business events sector makes to Australia, which just demonstrates just the importance to us of this business events delegate, incentive traveller coming in to Australia. We're looking at their length of stay and trying to work through if they're staying longer, and it seems that they are. But one of the great things I love about the data points we're getting is that when they come in, particularly for an association or a conference visit, as it were, about 20% of them are going on to a second or third destination. And that's great that, we're a long distance from a lot of places. So the fact that when they've decided to come to Australia, they're then staying longer to make even more of the trip is exactly what we want.
Yesterday I was at the IMEX press conference where they released a lot of survey material showing that buyers and agents are looking for that experiential style of meeting, and things are moving in the direction which Australia has always had trump cards in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can, and the personalisation around those events is coming through. But in terms of your question on performance, we've had a really good year. Our bid fund program that we've been running since 2018 actually tipped over just at $1 billion in terms of economic benefit they're bringing to the destination. But one I would highlight that we just had recently is the Amway from China, Amway China visit to Melbourne.
They come in waves.
We came in waves, and it was 16,000 over, I think it was a 5-6 week period.
Yeah.
But in that period, they spent 100 million in the visitor economy right in Melbourne and surrounds. And what we loved about that particular incentive is, as well as going to Melbourne, there were groups that went on to Sydney, Hobart, and Adelaide.
Yes.
So that was bid fund supported.
Do you find that that gives you impetus to maybe look at the kind of food and beverage that Chinese clients might want, and you talk to your hotel partners about that? I don't know if you're running Mandarin courses with your team, but it is big business, isn't it?
It is. Look, thinking a macro level for Australia, pre-COVID, China was our number one inbound market in terms of visitation and spend. It's number 2 at the moment in terms of visitation, just behind New Zealand, and spend is getting back there. So recovery is coming from that market. But one of the things is, I know you've experienced it, within Australia, we're such a melting pot of different cultures, which comes through then in the cuisines that we offer. So you can get really amazing, all types of cuisine, but with a lovely Australian twist that's often put into it. So, and the fresh produce,
And that
the seafood.
sustainable agenda.
Exactly, yeah, it completely does. A lot of our events will pride themselves on having really locally sourced produce, but the food miles are not great. They're quite limited to what they can offer, and that goes for wines as well as food. Yeah.
Now you also have a couple of huge sporting events on the horizon, don't you? With
do.
the Rugby Lions Tour,
Yes, yeah.
followed by the Olympic Games in Brisbane, yes,
And the Ashes. And
the Ashes, yes. Well, I sort of whisper that one because
Okay.
I think England might be on for a bit of a hiding there.
I was wondering why you're keeping that one quiet.
But I think the Lions might actually win. But we'll see if that prediction holds or not.
Yeah.
But mystic Paul there. But so they're obviously big flagship events that put more of a focus on the wonderful sports facilities you have at the venues. Yeah.
I mean, Australia, as you know, is an amazing sporting nation. And with that love of sports comes the infrastructure around it, and just the whole atmosphere around that. It was a little while ago, but the FIFA Women's World Cup that came to Australia was just amazing for the atmosphere that was around all of those games. And I think it's often, one of the draw cards for holding sporting events in Australia is we do it well around it.
I saw every one of the Indian delegation beaming with delight in Adelaide when they were at the cricket ground.
Exactly.
I had to cry off the roof tour,
Yes,
but one of the guys took me into the scoreboard, which I believe is the only old-fashioned scoreboard with levers and pulleys.
Right, yeah,
and it's a wonderful experience. There are doctors, engineers in there giving it up free time to work and do all of that. It was quite
the passion runs deep for sports, and I think, as you said, we're running up to the Olympics in 2032 in Brisbane, which is such a exciting opportunity for us. We had the 2000 games in Sydney, and the benefits that yielded to us as a destination continued for the next decade and beyond. So we're really excited for this next one.
Now we've hit on all of these aces that most people know about Australia, Premier Class and all of that. What about the knowledge economy? Because I know lots of your destinations are using the incredible university medical facilities to attract association business there. And the ones that we work with our publications, they put that to the fore, which I think is very clever. Almost like a Nike swoosh at the end, we do meetings, but leading by the ambassadors in whether it's life sciences or medical. And, how are you working with these ambassador programs?
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And we talk about Australia as an amazing destination to visit, everything around that. But we also talk about the smarts of Australia.
Yes.
We have a video series called Australia Innovates, which really picks on those knowledge sectors to bring to life amazing Aussies that have been leaders in their field, and that's from around the whole country. And the sectors that we focus on is obviously health, education, infrastructure, technology, space and defense, resources and energy, ones that really align to what we're looking at as a country.
Would you agree there's a trend that some of the second tier destinations, they do have to narrow their approach for the big meetings they go after, and therefore if they do have, let's say, like space, have a niche, it makes sense for them to concentrate efforts on?
Yeah, and I think all of our bureaus are very targeted with who they're going for, but the way when they know they're going after one of those sectors, they back it up with the smarts they've got locally. They might bring in an ambassador program. A lot of our bureaus work with the ambassador programs and what they do. And they just really demonstrate the value we can deliver as a destination in meeting the objectives of that. And I think we also, one of the things we do, we're known for being like the personalities of Aussies, welcoming, all of that, but it's also those smarts that we bring in. And when an association is considering hosting their conference in Australia, it starts with a really strategic conversation about what they're wanting to achieve. What are their objectives? And the bureaus, our PCOs, we can offer value as well in terms of how we deliver that. And it's not just have a great event, it's having a meaningful event and having an event with legacy.
I have noticed you very much do have this Team Australia approach, so that if people come to you in the funnel, you can say, well, you might want to try Adelaide for this or Brisbane.
Absolutely, yeah. And we do that. We really do lead with that. But also our Business Events Australia website really talks about those knowledge economies, who is famous for them around Australia, where the precincts link into that as well. And then, as you say, the different ambassador programs. So it's kind of, we take a really holistic approach to it, going that we want to make sure that someone who's thinking Australia knows we'll deliver a world-class event, quality accommodation and infrastructure, but their objectives, their business objectives will be met. And the legacies that come from that is what we want as a destination as well as what they want. So it's a real win-win and very focused on outcomes.
Thanks, Robin. My final question, is there anything updates on airlift or any new routes opening up or anything in the pipeline?
Yeah, aviation is critical for us as a destination, being to many of your readers on the other side of the world. We're back to where we were back in 2019 in terms of the aviation seats coming into Australia. The capacity is back there. New routes coming through. You know, I think in the last couple of years we've had direct flights from Rome, Paris and London into Perth with Qantas. Turkish Air, non-stop. So, and then a great network obviously getting into Perth as a gateway, staying in Western Australia or going on. We have an amazing domestic network as well. Turkish Airlines have started new services into Melbourne and now Sydney. But it's across the board in terms of what we're doing and seeing from airlines. Probably the last one I'd highlight is Qatar and their partnership with Virgin Australia and increasing their flights via Doha, their hub, into Australia.
And then with Singapore, of course.
Still working with Singapore, exactly. Yeah, we're very blessed with the airline partners we've got around the world.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.